Take me back to Auckland, 17.
Yeah, my first fight is, I was in the growing up. I had a bad start, but
What does that mean though? You had a bad start, like.
well, I had a parent who was a dad who was really abusive. Mother that was never there. Childhood, we got dealt pretty rough cards. It wasn't a normal upbringing, to be honest. And you don't realize that. You think it's normal until you meet someone that's normal. Until I met Julie, then you realize, oh, okay, so this is what normal is, and you've had a rough start, a bad start. So,
Brothers and sisters, how many?
Yeah, I've got 2 older brothers and an older sister. My older brother John killed himself probably about 7-8 years ago, Steve's schizophrenic. He's been like that for 30-something years, and my older sister. My dad was molesting my sister since the age of 6, I think.
Wow, that's heavy.
Yeah, he's a piece of shit. So, he needs to beat the fuck out of all of us, pardon my French, but he was not a good person. He used to use the church, the Mormon church, because we're all Mormons, and used the church as a cover, but he was actually a real piece of shit. So, and we used to get beaten all the time, but not actually beatings like normal beatings. He would hog tie us. He was good at mental warfare, so he'd make us get on our knees, just for get on our knees as punishment, and he'll be out there sawing down the freaking pear tree with a steel saw, like a hacksaw instead of a wood saw. That's how stupid he was. He was like, but we'd watch him and we'd be really scared. Like, I think I started getting anxiety from that age, at the young age. So the first time I was homeless, I was 8. I ran away from home. I slept in a tree at the school. And it was kind of weird because I clotheslined some towels from the apartment block next door to keep warm, but it was cold because it was nighttime and usually really cold. But the only thing that kept me warm was my swollen ear, which he'd caught me with from an old hose from the those old washing machines.
Like a belt.
Yeah,
like
so
the belt.
He whacked me. It was the start of one of those abusive hidings, and I jumped out the window and ran for my life. And I spent the nights and the next 2 weeks homeless. As an 8-year-old, I sat in that tree, cold, like I said, and the only thing that kept me warm was my ear. It was swollen, and I looked up at the sky. I don't know who I was talking to, whether it be God or someone. I said, "This is it. Is this me?" I was 8 years old. I was pretty scared. Yeah. So it wasn't a good start. It was like that. So
and was your mum there?
She was never there. She was always out working, trying to provide. My dad didn't have a job in the end. Finance is really bad. I don't blame my parents because no one probably taught them how to do things properly or how to live or the right way or the normal way.
Is this a cultural thing? I mean, we saw the movie Once Warriors, blah, 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 South Auckland, blah. I mean, is that what we're talking about?
I think the problem here in my culture is that it's called ma or shame. We don't bring out our issues and problems. And that's the thing I feel that what I did was what I needed to do was, if there's issues like being molested as a child or being beaten, you need to speak about these things, bring it out into the open so it can be fixed and healed. In our culture, they don't do that. They try to put it under the carpet and hide it.
Is it you mean Polynesian culture or Samoan?
Yes, yeah. Polynesian. That's not just being a Samoan. I think every Polynesian culture, they hide it and they try to cover it up. The molestation, the pedophile, but for me, I learned about, I had to express myself about growing and speaking about it, because if you don't speak about it, you hide it, you end up like my brothers, like John, who killed himself, and Steve, who's had schizophrenia for over 30 years now.
And your sister, right?
Well, she's as normal as can be. She's been counseling, but I don't think you'll ever be normal after that sort of abuse. She's been molested since she was 6. She was pregnant at 16, 15. He went to jail, but got out because she dropped the charges. Back then, in those days, you could drop charges, but right now, these days, the police
Yeah, you can't.
You can't. So there was a lot of movement forward. Back then, people didn't know what schizophrenia was. But now they do.